Hi. This is Guy Barker here. Welcome to Herbi.org. Today I'm going to give a demo of 40 things you can do in the free Herbi Speaks board making app for Windows.
Okay, and we'll start off with the default settings in the app. If I go to the Options menu, then I can set the default background color for new boards I create in the app, and the default text color, text font and font size for buttons that I add to the board, and also the default border thickness for the border shown around the buttons on the board. And now I will tap the Next button.
Next.
And I automatically get taken to another board, which is the Add a Button board. Okay, so on this board we have a button that says Add a Button, so I can tap that.
Add a button.
Or I can click it with the mouse.
Add a button.
And have the text on the button spoken. So to add a button, I can do this either with touch or the mouse, and I'll bring up a menu to say Add New Button, and I'll call this button Jasmine. And the button appears pretty much where I tapped on this screen, and the text Jasmine is shown there. So now if I tap that,
Jasmine,
the text is spoken. And I can change that text by going to the text menu and saying set button text, and I can add or remove text
Jasmine hello,
however I want. Now if I want to, I could set the font and font size and text color for this button to be something different from the default values, but I'm happy with the default values, so I'll leave those as they are. And I will now tap the Next button.
Next.
And automatically get taken to another board, which is the Add a Picture to a Button board. This has a button already on the board, which I'm going to remove by going Remove Button. And I will add a new button, and again I'll call it Jasmine, and I'm going to add a picture to it. So I'll say Pictures, Set Picture on Button. I'll pick a picture. Okay, now I'll make this bigger by going to the Edit mode, and I can move the button around and I can size it like that. Exit Edit mode, and there we go. Now if I tap the button,
Jasmine,
the text on the button is spoken. Now if I want, I can have a different picture shown when the mouse cursor hovers over the button. So I'll bring up the menu again and say Pictures and say Set Hover Picture on Button. I will pick a different picture. And now when the mouse cursor hovers over the button, the picture changes. And I can remove that second picture if I want to by saying Remove Hover Picture on Button. And I stay with the original picture, and I can remove or change that picture as well if I wanted to. Now if I don't want the text shown on the button once it has a picture, I can bring up the menu again and say Text and clear the Show Text option there. And now the text is not shown visually, but still if I
Jasmine,
click the button or tap it, the text will still be spoken. Now I will bring the text back, say Show Text, and if I want to, I can change where the text is shown relative to the picture. So if I bring up the text menu, I can say Set Text Position Top, so now the text is shown above the picture, or I can have the text shown at the bottom of the button, like that.
Jasmine.
Okay, I'll now tap the Next button.
Next.
And I'll go to another board called Add Media to a Button. I will remove an existing button on the board and add a new one. And again, I'll call it Jasmine. Actually, I'll call it Jasmine in the Snow. Okay, and now I'll make that button big. So I'll enter Edit mode. Oops. There we go. Okay, exit edit mode. Right, now I'm going to add some media to this button. So media, And to start with, I'll set an audio file such that when the button is tapped or clicked,
Jasmine in the snow.
the audio file was played after the text was spoken. And if I bring up the media menu again, I could remove the media from the button if I wanted to, but in fact I'm going to change it to be different, a different media file. This time it's going to be a video. So now when I tap the button,
Jasmine in the snow.
Jazzy! It's snow! Yes, Jazzy!
okay, and if I wanted to, I could change this such that the text on the button is not spoken before the video is played. By default, the text will be spoken, but I'll now clear the option to say speak button text before playing media. And now, when I click or tap the button, we go straight into the video without the text on the button being spoken. And I press the escape key there to cancel the playing of the video. Okay, I'll now tap the next button.
Next.
Okay, and now we're taken to a board that says add transparent buttons to a picture. So I'm going to remove that existing button. And what this is about is previously we saw that we had a button and we added a picture to the button. But say you want to add a picture and then add a number of transparent buttons on top of that. So what we can do is go to the pictures containing buttons item here and say add new picture. And we will add, say, this picture. Okay, and I'll make the picture bigger. Okay, and now I'm going to add a transparent button on top of this picture. So I do this by saying add new button to picture. And I'll call this flower. Now I'm going to add another button. Call this garden. And finally add one more. We'll call this field. Okay, and by default the buttons stay transparent as I put the mouse over them.
Flower. Garden. Field.
But if I want to, I can change the button to say it shouldn't be transparent when the mouse hovers over it. So I'll go to pictures containing buttons and say I don't want the picture button to be transparent when the mouse is over it. And now when I do this, it becomes solid when the mouse is over it to make it more obvious. And if I don't want the buttons to be transparent at all, I can say that I don't want the picture button to be transparent. And now the button on the picture isn't transparent at all.
Field.
Okay, and now if I move the picture, all the buttons inside the picture move with it, or I could move the buttons independently of the picture if I want to. And if I want to remove the picture and all its buttons, I go to pictures containing buttons and say remove picture and all its buttons, or I could just remove one of the buttons from the picture if I wanted to. Now sometimes you might find that one button in the picture is underneath another one when you would rather it wasn't. So in that case I can say bring button to front, and that's changed the order in which the buttons appear on the picture. And similarly, if a picture is obscuring a button outside the picture, or the other way around, I could say I want this button to be in the front, and it jumps in front of the other one. So you can arrange them so that one button or picture appears on top of another one however you like. Okay, I will now tap the next button.
Next.
And we finally get to a board called Boards, which after all the app is a board making app. Okay, to add a board, you go to the Boards menu and say Add Board. And you get a default board name, which I will accept, of Board 9. If I want to later rename the board, I can say Rename Current Board and say this is my new board. And the name of the board appears at the top of the app here. This is my new board. I can also reorder the boards in this particular file so that they appear in a different order when you get a list of them. Another thing I could do is delete a board if I want to. It says, are you sure you want to delete the board? And the board name, and I'll say no, because I want to keep it for the moment. Another thing I could do is import a board from another set of boards in a different file if I want to. I'll cancel that. Okay, another thing you can do is actually use a board as a template for a new board. So if I were to go to, I will switch boards now to say one we saw right at the beginning, the default board here. If I want to, I could say boards, make a new board from the current board. And it gives me a chance to rename the new board if I want to, but I'll accept the default of board 10. I'll click OK. And there we have a new board called board 10, which has exactly the same contents as another board. So that gives you a jump start on creating the boards there. Now I will switch boards to another board, say the default settings board. Now, very importantly, you want to be able to have a button linked to another board. So when this next button is clicked here,
Next.
the text is spoken, then we jump to another board. So I'll go back to that second board, and we'll see how that was done. If I bring up the menu for this button, there is link to another board. I'll tap that, and I get a list of boards, all the boards that are in this file, and I could pick the board that I want the app to jump to after the text is spoken on the button. And if I don't want the text spoken on the button before the jump to the other board happens, I can clear this option, speak button text when moving to another board. So what I'll do is I'll change this link to go to the add media to a button board, and I'll also say I don't want the next text spoken before the jump happens. So now when I tap this, we just jump straight to another board. So what I can do is bring up the menu for this media button and say play media when moving to this board, so that this means the media, whether it's audio or video, should automatically start when another board jumps to this board. So I'll check that, and then I'll go back to the board we were at earlier that links to that media board, and I'll change this again to say I would like this text spoken before the jump happens, and now I will tap the next button.
Next.
Jazzy! It's snow!
Okay, I cancelled the video with the press of the escape key. So what happened was I tapped a button that said next, we jumped to another board, and then the media on that board automatically played. Now I'll switch back to the other board. I'll say I want the app to jump to another board when a button is clicked, but I don't want to know which board is the target of the jump. I could do that by bringing up the menu for the button, say link to another board, and instead of specifying a particular target board, I'm going to say link to a random board. So I'll now tap the button.
Next.
Okay, and it jumped to a board, one of the new empty ones we created earlier called This Is My Board. So basically I didn't know where the app was actually going to jump then. So I will now go back to the boards menu, and I'll now click the next button.
Next.
Okay, so we've seen how you can add boards with buttons that have audio, video or pictures on them. And of course, having created all this, you can then go to the file menu and save the set of boards you created and open them up later. And also, if you press the F5 key or go to the full screen item here, you can get rid of any sort of distractions around, so the only thing shown on the screen is the button. So if you know of ways in which I can update this app to be more useful for you and people you work with, please do let me know at barker@herbi.org.
Thank you.